Welcome to Nightling, where the strange, the terrifying, and the unexplainable come alive. Tonight's story will pull you in, twist your thoughts, and leave you looking over your shoulder. Subscribe, settle in, and let's walk into the dark together.
It was supposed to be just another routine late-night shift, the kind I had worked countless times before. I parked my car under the dim glow of the overhead lights, their hum faint but constant, a soft reminder of how empty the world felt at that hour. The parking lot stretched around me like an ocean of cracked asphalt, lines of faded paint guiding roads that were mostly barren. A few cars sat scattered across the lot, their silhouettes dark and still, like sleeping beasts. I was tired, bone-deep tired, the kind that makes your mind wander and your guard slip. My bag was slung over one shoulder, and I could feel the weight of the day pressing against me as I shut the door of my car. The slam echoed unnaturally in the emptiness, bouncing back at me as though the lot itself were alive, whispering my movements to unseen ears. That's when I noticed him. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. He stood several rows away, far enough that I couldn't make out details, but close enough that his presence was undeniable. A man, standing perfectly still, facing in my direction. His posture was stiff, unnatural, as though he were bracing himself against something only he could feel. I told myself it was nothing. People loiter in parking lots all the time, right? Maybe he was waiting for someone, maybe his car had broken down, maybe he was on a phone call. My mind clung to those excuses like a child clutching a blanket. But even as I tried to reason, something about him gnawed at me. He wasn't shifting, wasn't checking his phone, wasn't doing anything at all. He was just standing there. Watching. A chill prickled across the back of my neck. I quickened my steps toward the entrance, telling myself not to look back. But curiosity, or maybe instinct, made me glance over my shoulder. He hadn't moved. Not an inch. His head tilted slightly, as though adjusting to keep me in his line of sight. The hairs on my arms rose. Inside the store, the fluorescent lights felt almost heavenly. Their sterile brightness was a shield against the darkness I had left outside. I forced myself to shake it off, clocked in, and tried to bury the unease under routine. But every so often, when the lull of the night dragged and I found myself near the front windows, I couldn't resist sneaking a glance toward the lot. He was still there. Hours slipped by, and customers came and went. The night dragged its feet, and with it, my paranoia. Each time I looked, the man had shifted slightly. Sometimes he was closer, sometimes farther, but never gone. Always within sight. Always watching. I told a coworker, laughing it off as though it were nothing, but even as the words left my mouth, I could feel how brittle they sounded. By the time my shift ended, exhaustion had dulled my fear. It had been hours. If he had meant to do something, wouldn't he have done it already? I convinced myself he was harmless. Just some strange guy passing time in the lot. But as I pushed open the doors and stepped into the cool embrace of the early morning air, my confidence crumbled. He was gone. The space where he had been standing was empty, too empty. The rows of cars were silent, their windows dark. I stood frozen, my pulse thrumming in my ears, scanning every shadow, every corner. Nothing. I forced myself to move, my keys clutched like a weapon between my fingers. The walk to my car felt endless, every step an invitation for something to leap out of the darkness. The silence pressed in around me, heavy and suffocating. When I finally reached my car, I yanked the door open and slid inside, locking it immediately. My breath came fast and shallow, fogging the windshield as I fumbled with the keys. The engine roared to life, a comforting growl in the stillness. I told myself not to look. Just drive. Just leave. But some primal urge, some stubborn need to confirm, made me lift my eyes to the rearview mirror. And there he was. In the back seat. His face was half hidden in shadow, but his smile was unmistakable. A slow, curling grin that spoke of patience, of inevitability. My scream caught in my throat as I threw the car into drive, tires screeching against asphalt. The world blurred around me as I sped out of the lot, heart pounding like a drumbeat of pure terror. In the mirror, his face hovered, calm and unshaken, as though the chaos meant nothing to him. It wasn't until I swerved onto the main road, headlights slicing through the darkness, that I realized the back seat was empty. Completely empty. I nearly lost control of the wheel. My mind spun, trying to make sense of it. Had he really been there? Was it just exhaustion twisting my senses, a hallucination born from fear? But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew. I hadn't imagined him. I had seen the smile, the way his eyes gleamed. That kind of detail doesn't come from nothing. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow in my room seemed to stretch too far, every creak in the walls felt like a footstep. I avoided parking lots, avoided working late, avoided being alone. But avoidance is only temporary. Fear has a way of finding you, of creeping back when you think you're safe. Because sometimes, the things that watch us in the dark aren't just strangers. Sometimes, they're waiting.